only is our Bachelor, Grant, a Sagittarius Sun, they are also a Sagittarius Mercury, Sagittarius Venus, Sagittarius Mars. That's a lot of Sagittarius energy. Hi, my name is Zoe, and today we're going to talk about Grant's natal chart. We're going to talk about his sun, especially in this video, and what this Sagittarius energy means for him on his journey to find love. This is the only information that I currently have about Grant's natal chart, so this is what I'm going to work with. And we should probably thank Do the Roses Align on Instagram for providing this information. For Grant, love is all about the journey. Sagittarius is all about exploring new experiences and learning and growing and evolving. Sagittarius learns through their experiences. So the Bachelor isn't just a means to an end to find love for Grant. Every single date they go on is an adventure. Now, Sagittarius men tend to have a lot of fantasies about love, but they're not always good at being realistic when they try to manifest these fantasies. Therefore, when the experience of being on The Bachelor is over, Grant is going to probably have a really hard time living up to some of these fantasies or expectations that he's created. It's hard for him to maintain the fantasy. Sagittarius has this shadow side that likes to make promises and sometimes over-promises. But we'll talk about the shadow side of Sagittarius in another video and how that might impact Grant. So a lot of women might feel very disappointed when Grant isn't able to stay in the role that he's in. And that's the thing about Sagittarius is they tend to play multiple roles in their life. They play a lot of different roles. They wear a lot of different hats. They switch from one role to the next. And it doesn't mean that he isn't being his authentic self or that he's being fake or pretending. It just means that we're probably not seeing all of Grant. Luckily, that Capricorn moon is helping to ground him and make him a little more serious, you know? Without it, he can get really swept up in these fantasies surrounding love. And that is also why a lot of Sagittarius men tend to be drawn to earthy women who can ground them and anchor them. As long as that woman can also be adventurous and open to having fun. So I would not be surprised if he chose an earth sign. Now, I believe the only earth sign out of the final four is Juliana. She's a Taurus, I believe. But of course, I definitely would need to see the women's natal chart to really determine more. Sagittarius men tend to have a goofy side. Unlike some of the other signs, Grant isn't about analyzing the women or picking them apart, you know? He's much more intuitive with the way he goes about things. Now, Grant's Sagittarius nature makes him more stimulating and exciting, and he's a really interesting partner. Based on what you're seeing on the screen, it appears that Grant is one of the more mature Sagittarius men. A lot of Sagittarius men can be kind of childish and immature. They don't like to grow up. That could also be the Capricorn influence of his moon. But it's really common for women to date Sagittarius men and then they end up feeling like they have to take care of everything or do things for them or mother them. And then they eventually start to resent them. But like I said, Grant seems very charming yet more mature, so we shall see. We'll also have to see who he chooses because Grant does tend to do what a lot of Sagittarius men do, which is to shift into different roles depending on who he's talking to. You can see him kind of morphing and adapting in the way that he does things depending on the situation. And sense of humor is really important to a Sagittarius, so he'll probably pick someone who has a really good sense of humor, who he can laugh with. So even though she's one of the final four, I would rule out Dina because Dina seems to be a little too serious for Grant. And maybe also Zoe. It just seems like it's harder for them to let loose, and I think that's really going to make or break. Love is a journey, and it always needs to be happening. You can't just get married and that's it, you know, live happily ever after. For Grant, it's going to be needing to constantly be growing, constantly be moving forward. And it's super important for whoever he chooses to have their own life, their own needs, their own hobbies, their own activities. It can't just revolve around the relationship. So he's likely going to choose someone who's very independent. He is definitely going to shy away from someone who acts super jealous or nags. The woman he chooses needs to be really secure in themselves for it to work. That BS with Carolina was probably very taxing for him to do because Sagittarius men don't tend to go for the women who are super emotional and like heavy. While obviously they want someone they can be authentic with and connect with, if it's too early on and they're very overwhelming, then they're not going to be with that person. A lot of Sagittarius men really like the idea of security, but they end up really struggling to settle down. That doesn't mean he won't get married, but it does mean that it's more like he's afraid of being caged, of feeling limited. And I think that's a lot of the reason why a lot of Sagittarius men don't like commitment or they don't want to get married for a very long time, because they tend to feel like they're being trapped, or they see marriage sometimes as a cage, as a prison. They don't like feeling like they're on a leash. But when they are ready to find love and find that soulmate, they go all in and they are awesome companions. So don't take that the wrong way. He'll need a partner who gives him a lot of space and who allows him to just be himself, and also someone he can travel with, someone who wants to explore with him and go on adventures with him. That is one of the reasons he connected so well with Carolina on their date, because they jumped off that building together, even though they were both terrified. And it was different than when he jumped off the bridge with Serafina. With Carolina, he kind of overcame it with her. But with Serafina was so much more easygoing, and it was almost like there was a sense of detachment between the two. And that's what's really different with Sagittarius, is they're not looking for someone to necessarily help them through it or to be that person to worry about someone else. They want a friend. They want someone who is going to just be along for the ride with them. But if Serafina had acted like a damsel in distress and she had done everything Carolina was doing, she probably would have been sent home, just based on what we're seeing on the screen. The other thing with Carolina is there was a very intellectual bond there. You could tell that their conversations were very stimulating, which is very important to a Sagittarius. Now, as a Sagittarius man, Grant is naturally a giver. He's spoken about this before, how he feels like he has to be that protector, that giver, but he has to give on his terms. That's the thing about Sagittarius. There's not this conventional giving. It's more like spontaneous. Like they might surprise you with tickets to some kind of Broadway show, or they might take you on a trip out of the blue. Like it's less about traditional gift giving and more about like surprises and big ideas and new experiences and adventures, He wants to give, but on his terms. And that is another reason why Dina probably won't work out with him, because it was stimulating, the conversation they had. It was something new to him, which is really exciting for a Sagittarius. But he wouldn't be able to live up to Dina's expectations, most likely. Also, his Capricorn moon makes him want to be more of a provider. He does kind of need that in order to feel emotionally safe. He needs to feel like he is more serious, more dominant in a lot of ways in a relationship. It's important for him to have some tradition and security when it comes to love. And I don't know where his moon is in his natal chart or where any of these planets are, so that would help me determine more about him. But just based on this, I can say that Capricorn energy is going to be really that grounding presence that wants to make him be more of a protector, more of a provider, be more dominant, more assertive, even if it clashes sometimes with his Sagittarius nature. Sagittarius often doesn't even realize they're doing something upsetting or wrong until their partner points it out. That's why often the girls will address him and talk to him about something that's bothering them, and the way he responds is really different than a lot of other bachelors, where he'll really take that in. You can see it, him absorbing it, and he doesn't immediately get, angry or react. And sometimes he just acts like he has no idea that they were feeling that way, because that's just the energy of Sagittarius. Sagittarius has been known to be kind of naive sometimes. They'll really get these ideas in their heads, and then when someone says that's not true, it takes them a second. It can be very endearing though. But he also respects them for speaking up, because Sagittarius can be very blunt. Sagittarius hates a buzzkill. They hate them. And they need a friendship and a love interest. This person has to be their friend first and foremost. The Sagittarius shadow side that is most prominent here is the overpromiser. Sagittarius has a tendency to make a lot of promises that over time they just can't keep. This season of The Bachelor, we often see Grant telling a woman something really, really amazing, or making some kind of promise to her, or, even if he doesn't say, I promise this, he tends to make some form of advance towards her and then only to let her go. He'll give gifts to someone, he'll make them feel really seen, and then he'll basically just cut it off. And I feel like, of course, it's a dating show, so of course they're going to, have to get rid of people or eliminate people. That's a better way of saying it. But the way he does it sometimes is so out of the blue. For example, Parisa, Alex, really blindsided them. He says all the right things and then makes the women feel really seen. And that is where this shadow side comes out, because Sagittarius men can be so charming, and they act this way with everyone, okay? It makes you feel really special in the moment, but then you realize that they're saying the same thing to everyone else. And this is a phase that a lot of Sagittarius men go through. Sometimes it's something that sticks, sometimes it's something that they learn from, but I feel like we're seeing a little bit of that come out. He gives them gifts, he showers them with affection, and then he's like, bye. And I'm sure that some of this will come out during the Women Tell All or the Final Rose, where we see somebody questioning his intentions because of the amount of love or supposed love that he showed them, only to turn around and eliminate them. I am curious to see how many women feel blindsided by him or confused about why he let them go, because he gave them the wrong idea. Another side of Sagittarius is that they like to be in the loop. They like to be in the know. They know where it's at. They know what bars just opened up. They know where the coolest nightclub is. They're the kind of person that you go to because you want to know what's cool. They just know where the fun is at. And Grant, being a musician and being in that industry, makes a lot of sense. Mercury makes him very intellectual. Like, he's always curious to know more, and he needs to be mentally stimulated, but not in the same way that a Gemini does. It's more like he likes to speculate. He has his philosophies, his ideals. It's less about overanalyzing or dissecting things. It's more about knowing them. And he really likes when people speak their mind. That is something that we've seen a lot throughout the show this season. And that is why he also really rewards the women when they do that, and he encourages them to speak up. Sometimes he may not always think before he speaks, and that can bite him in the ass. An example of this would be the situation where he told Rose one thing and then she told Carolina practically the same thing he said, but he wasn't ready for the repercussions that came with that. So when Carolina confronted him with it, he immediately tried to backtrack, and that didn't go so well. And that is a very Sagittarius Mercury thing to do, because Sagittarius Mercury is very impulsive. Grant's Venus in Sagittarius is also going to make it so that he's very drawn to people of different cultures or different backgrounds. That is not something that will stop him from connecting with someone. He wants someone who's adventurous and really free-spirited, but he also craves variety and passion. With Mars in Sagittarius, Grant might like to use humor when it comes to conflict. He might like to laugh things off or not take things as seriously. And then when they do become serious, he may feel like things get very heated very fast. Sagittarius Mars is known to be argumentative, maybe have a temper. They're also very passionate and they don't mind resolving their problems through getting physical with someone, whether that's in the bedroom or whether that's working out. And when they're upset, they don't tend to hold grudges for long. They're not like Scorpio that's just gonna stew and sit there for days. Like they just wanna work through it. And we haven't really seen a lot of this conflict with Grant yet. So, I can't fully say how this is applying to him, but this is just the tendency that happens with a Sagittarius Mars. Maybe we will see as things heat up at the end, but yeah, we'll keep an eye out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Zoe the Psychic. And you can also book a reading with me if you'd like to explore more of your own journey. Bye.